The film begins in 1969, showing two fighter jets patrolling near the tense border between South and North Korea. The pilots, Tae-in and his junior, Dong-chul, engage in aerobatic maneuvers, sharpening their skills. However, their training is interrupted by an urgent call from headquarters. A commercial plane is about to enter restricted airspace. Civilian aircraft are strictly prohibited in this area due to its proximity to North Korea. Without hesitation, Tae-in and Dong-chul intercept the plane, instructing it to turn back. As they approach, they recognize the pilot as a senior Air Force officer. Strangely, he remains unresponsive. Suddenly, they notice an armed man inside the cockpit, holding the pilot at gunpoint. The situation escalates rapidly. Headquarters orders Tae-in and Dong-chul to disable the plane's engine, forcing an emergency landing. However, Tae-in hesitates, fearing for the lives of the passengers. His inaction allows the plane to cross into North Korean airspace, leaving him in silent regret. Back at Air Force headquarters, Tae-in faces severe consequences. The commander reprimands him, emphasizing that 51 civilians are now at risk because of his hesitation. Despite explaining that the plane was hijacked, Tae-in fails to provide concrete proof. As a result, he is forced to resign, while Dong-chul is suspended for a month. The commander warns Tae-in that, despite his good intentions, his decision has worsened tensions between the two nations. A year later, the South Korean government continues negotiations for the passengers' release. North Korea agrees to free only 40 individuals, keeping 11 others citing their valuable skills. Meanwhile, Tae-in and his wife visit the home of the captured pilot's family. There, they witness the pain and suffering the pilot's wife endures, as neighbors falsely brand her husband a communist spy. While she clings to hope, the reality is grim. North Korea releases the passengers in stages, but the pilot and the remaining detainees are never returned. Tae-in is haunted by the commander's words, burdened with guilt over his past decision. One day, North Korea officially announces that the remaining passengers will be declared North Korean citizens, sealing their fate. Meanwhile, the hijacker is rewarded $2 million for delivering skilled individuals to North Korea. 1971, a new beginning and an unforeseen threat. At Sato Airport, passengers eagerly prepare for a flight, excited yet unfamiliar with air travel. South Korea's aviation system is still developing, leading to chaotic boarding procedures. Among the crowd is a young man, Young-dae, who behaves suspiciously, befriending a child to avoid suspicion. As the passengers settle in, Tae-in, now a commercial co-pilot, prepares for takeoff alongside Captain Cusick. The flight takes off smoothly, with passengers marveling at the aerial view. Meanwhile, Young-dae, lost in thought, recalls his tragic past, his parents' deaths, and his brother's mysterious disappearance. His reason for being on this flight soon becomes clear. He is on a mission to reunite with his brother. Without warning, Young-dae stands up and retrieves a homemade bomb, throwing the aircraft into chaos. Security officer Chung-bae attempts to control the situation, but the bomb detonates, causing severe turbulence. Tae-in regains control of the plane, ensuring it remains intact. However, the ordeal is far from over. Young-dae storms the cockpit, holding the pilots at gunpoint, demanding they divert the flight toward North Korea. Tae-in complies to ensure the passengers' safety while secretly formulating a plan. He signals flight attendant Ok-sun to locate Chung-bae's missing pistol, the only means of turning the tide. Meanwhile, Captain Cusick, injured from the turbulence, engages Young-dae in conversation, uncovering his shocking motivation. Young-dae is the younger brother of the hijacker from 2 years ago. Fueled by resentment against South Korea, he intends to follow in his brother's footsteps. A desperate battle for control. As tensions rise, passengers rally to ambush Youngdae. The plan nearly succeeds, but Youngdae retrieves Chungbei's pistol, regaining control. To prevent another attack, he stabs a passenger in the leg. Ok-sun bravely tends to the wounded, while Taein discreetly sabotages the fuel gauge, tricking Youngdae into believing they are running low on fuel. Captain Cusick amplifies the deception, announcing that they have entered North Korean airspace and ordering passengers to destroy their identification cards to avoid being claimed by the communist regime. Youngdae, reflecting on his past, remains resolute. Meanwhile, Chungbei secretly instructs a passenger to untie his hands, but the ropes are too tight. Just then, an alarm sounds. Tae-in's sabotage is working. Furious at the deception, Youngdae strikes Captain Cusick, but Tae-in convinces him that an emergency landing is their only option. However, Youngdae realizes the truth. The plane is still in South Korean airspace. Enraged, he pulls the pin from a grenade and forces a teenage passenger to hold it, threatening everyone's lives. At that moment, 2 South Korean fighter jets approach, piloted by none other than Dong-chul. Unable to communicate, Tae-in signals to his former comrade, who learns that North Korean fighter jets are en route to shoot them down. To protect the commercial plane, Dong-chul positions his jet between them and the enemy. With little time left, Tae-in performs a daring maneuver, flying the massive aircraft upside down, a move unheard of for a commercial plane. The turbulence disorients Youngdae, allowing Ok-sun to free Chungbei, who finally overpowers the hijacker. Desperate, Youngdae lights the fuse on his bomb, but before he can act further, Chungbei shoots him. As Youngdae collapses, he sheds a single tear. Despite neutralizing the threat, the bomb detonates. Tae-in shields the explosion with a metal plate, preventing a catastrophe, but losing his left arm in the process. Bleeding heavily, he fights to keep the plane steady. As they prepare for an emergency landing, the landing gear fails. With the last of his strength, Tae-in, Captain Cusick, Ok-sun, and the passengers work together to lower it manually. A hero's sacrifice. As the plane nears the ground, Tae-in's vision blurs. In his final moments, he thinks of his wife, questioning if he has finally atoned for his past mistake. With one last effort, he successfully lands the plane on a beach, ensuring the survival of all on board. However, Tae-in succumbs to his injuries, never returning home. The film ends with real footage of the actual event, revealing that everyone survived, except the pilot and the hijacker. Meanwhile, the 11 passengers taken to North Korea in 1969 remained lost to history.